Hello, and welcome back to The Director's Cut, brought to you by the Directors Guild of America. You can subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, or on our SoundCloud page at soundcloud.com/thedirectorscut. Coming off of our three-part series of the Meet the Nominees feature film Symposium, we have one more treat from awards season. Today's episode of The Director's Cut is devoted to our Meet the Nominees documentary symposium. Like the feature film symposium, the annual event is a roundtable discussion with the directors nominated for the Guild's Award for Outstanding Directorial Achievement in Documentary. On February 3rd, Otto Bell, the director of The Eagle Huntress, Ezra Edelman, the director of O.J. Made in America, Josh Kriegman, the co-director of Weiner, and Roger Ross Williams, the director of Life Animated, all gathered at the DGA Theater in Los Angeles to discuss the making of their films with moderator James Moll. Nominees Raoul Peck, the director of I Am Not Your Negro, and Elyse Steinberg, the co-director of Weiner, were not available to participate. So please enjoy our Meet the Nominees documentary special and listen to the panelists discuss the unique challenges they face as documentary filmmakers. Highlights include Mr. Edelman speaking about the difficulty of editing more than 800 hours of footage down to 7 hours and 47 minutes, and Mr. Kriegman talking about the exclusive level of access he had to former New York Congressman Anthony Weiner.
Welcome back, everyone, or if you're here for the first time, welcome. All right, so let's jump in. There's so much to talk about, and we don't have a lot of time, so let's talk about Weiner.
All right, let's do it.
Who are these people? The ironic thing with that laughter is that when I ask that question, I'm not just talking about the name of the gentleman in the film. I'm talking about other things as well. I'm sure you came across that when you were doing the film, the irony of the name from time to time.
Oh yeah, no, it never really gets old. Yeah. Although, Anthony liked to joke. He heard the last original Weiner joke in the 3rd grade, so
I mean, there's a lot in the film. I'm sure it must have happened with the crew while you were filming, but you had a really unique character. I mean, I'm not guessing, I guess, when I speak for everyone on this panel, we're all watching your film and thinking, wow, why isn't everyone I profile that open to being photographed, right, to being interviewed? Is that what you expected from the beginning? Because you had known Anthony Weiner before this, right?
Yeah, well, I actually had met him working in politics. I had worked as his chief of staff for a couple of years when he was in Congress prior to getting into filmmaking. And so he and I had stayed in touch. This was years before the sexting scandal and his resignation. So he and I had been in touch for many years. And then after he resigned, I had moved into filmmaking at that point, and I pitched him on this idea of doing a documentary. And it was actually a 2-year conversation going back and forth with him to figure out if he might be comfortable letting us tell his story. And then when he decided to run for mayor, he let us in.
His story of running for mayor.
Well, yeah, but also, he had been through this scandal and resigned from Congress, and part of the idea from the very beginning was to figure out a way to tell his story in a way that gets beyond kind of the punchline version, and try to go a little bit deeper. But we ended up, of course, being embedded in the mayoral campaign and following that through in 2013.
Yeah, it was interesting to hear. There was a line in the film where he's talking to you, and he says, "Isn't a fly on the wall supposed to be on the wall?" So it's an interesting relationship that the two of you had. You basically had all access.
Yeah, I mean, he's a very open guy, and he has a complicated relationship with the camera, and that was part of it.
Not just your camera.
Yeah, no, he was very open, and he was very, there were definitely things he didn't want us to film, and there were boundaries that he set that we respected throughout. But he was very open, and part of the there's this question at the end of the film why he would let us film this, which I actually asked him directly in the film itself, and he really, I think, wanted a different version of his story told than the one that played out in the headlines and the New York Post and the puns and everything else, and I think there was a sense that might happen through a documentary.
Was it a different sense of his story that was told?
I think so. I mean, I leave it sort of to the audience to decide. I mean, one of the wonderful things about this film and the way it's been received in the last year is that people have a wide range of reactions to this movie. I mean, we had one couple that we knew who watched it and then went out to dinner and fought the whole time, which, I felt bad for them, but it's like sort of gratifying as a filmmaker to know that you're, playing in shades of gray as opposed to black and white.
Yeah. Well, obviously, Anthony Weiner was a fascinating subject for a film, and all four of you had fascinating subjects for the film. O.J. Simpson. I mean...
I didn't have the same access.
You did not have the same access. But there was a potential for access.
Was there? Do you know something I don't know?
I don't know. Tell us.
There was no potential for access.
That's it.
He's incarcerated in Nevada.
And they wouldn't allow him to speak.
Technically, according to state law, you are allowed to interview inmates in prison, but he has not done any interviews since he's been in prison, and I didn't think he was going to break his silence for us, and he didn't.
But you tried.
I tried.
Yeah. All right, well, tell us, your film is 7.5 hours?
And 47 minutes.
And when you set out to make the film...
It goes by like that.
You know what? It does. I'm watching that film and all the way through and I think I speak for a lot of people. But how do you come to make a 7-hour and however many minutes film?
Through a lot of hard work, I guess. I mean, we were commissioned to make a film that was commissioned to be a long, epic film. It was supposed to be a short film, about 5 hours. And we started working, and the thing about making a documentary in any form that any of us made a documentary, you don't know exactly what access you're going to get to subjects, in this case, interview subjects. You don't know the footage you're going to be able to locate. And so, in planning out the film, I found an architecture through which I was hoping to tell the story, but I had no idea who was out there to help me tell this story and have to fill in this narrative. And we were overwhelmingly fortunate that there were so many people that trusted us to sit and be interviewed and talk about this very fraught man, but also about this city that we are sitting in right now, and what has happened over the past 50 years, and this story about the police department and the black community and this very fraught dynamic. And looking back now, I'm very grateful that people did trust us to participate in a story that has, for many of them, caused them a lot of pain throughout the years.
And we're fortunate that you were given an opportunity to make a film on such an epic scale. But I'll tell you, you've kind of ruined it for the rest of us, because I can't tell you how many meetings I've gone into with network executives that are talking about me wanting to do a project for them, and they say, have you seen the OJ movie? That's what we want. Can you do the OJ? Have you guys seen this? Had this happen? Everybody talks about the OJ movie. So thank you, and
sorry.
Good night. No, it's great. I love the film. Otto, also, speaking of characters, you had a fascinating character. She was what, 13 when you were profiling? Yep. 13 years old. And again, speaking about access or following somebody who's a unique character, she doesn't strike me as someone that it was particularly easy to follow and capture naturally, but who knows? What was it like profiling her or finding her to begin with?
Finding her was its own thing. We filmed in the most remote part of the least populated country in the world. So there are no roads and they're nomadic. So you take a little cigar tube of a twin propeller plane up to her region. There's about 2 flights a week. And then you get out and then you got to find them. So literally, you drive and then you find another soul. And they say, I think they're over that mountain or whatever, and you rumble on for another couple of hours. But, when we did find them, the family were remarkably open to being filmed. they're somewhat used to having. I mean, they're not uncontacted or anything. They're used to having the odd kind of tourist, intrepid, adventurous tourist coming in and taking an interest in their lives. And oftentimes those people are amateur photographers, and they'll stay for a night or two and take some photos. I just stayed for longer. Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at a scene from your film. It is. I don't know what it is. Do you want to set up? Do you know what the clip is?
If it's the one I picked,
I
which
imagine
I hope
it's the one you
is.
picked. It's the one with OJ in it.
This, yeah. I got the access.
He was
I
an
got the
incredible
access.
eagle hunter.
He's pretty good. I mean, he's a sportsman, It's natural. You turn his hand to anything. But no, this bit. I like this bit. That's why I picked it. This bit is it's just a bit of a pause in the middle of the film. It's really where you see the technology come into play. I made this film with my life savings for about $100,000, but we really threw the kitchen sink at it. A lot of drones, a lot of cranes, and modern technology is what allowed me to film the truth, but film it beautifully. I just like this bit in the film because there's not too much to read. It's just a moment where the audience can breathe a little bit and take in what I found in Mongolia, which is just this vast oceanic kind of landscape.
All right. Well, let's breathe. Let's breathe a little bit and
Yeah.
have a look at a scene from The Eagle Huntress. I wish we could show you the whole film. This is a beautiful, beautiful film, and we didn't get a chance in this clip to see much of the storyline, our lead, the young girl, but it's beautifully photographed. And considering where you were in the world, I'm assuming you didn't drive home every night and go to the Four Seasons.
No, we lived in that gur, those circular houses that you saw. We just slept with them like ducks in a row. So there's no real electricity. There's no running water or anything like that.
And you mentioned drones. Look like
Yeah,
it's
a lot of
Steadicam.
batteries.
Looks like it a crane.
Yeah.
You look like I don't know if.
Yeah. Well, I had a crew of 3, and my cameraman, he's a great inventor. He built me a crane that was sort of 9 meters long, but folds away into a snowboard bag. But batteries were a problem. We had a little petrol generator that we would use to charge things at night. But then you run out of petrol, and so we started hoovering out the van with a hose pipe. Oh my gosh! But then the problem becomes you're so far away from the petrol station, the gas station, that you can't. You have to decide: are we going to film more, or are we going to get back to get more petrol? I mean, it was a lot of fun.
I was going to ask you about the size of the crew, because it does. You would think in watching the film that you had a very large crew.
Yeah.
So
no, there was 3 of us.
And
Yeah.
am I correct? This was your first film?
It's my first film, yeah.
Congratulations, because it's cinema verite. It's following this young girl through her journey. You couldn't possibly have known that every step of the story was going to take place the way it did.
No, I didn't know if it was going to be a 5-minute film, if it was going to be a little package or a half-hour special or an hour, but things kept happening to her.
And it's verite, but beautifully shot. So congratulations. Sure. It's a beautiful film. And speaking of verite, Roger, you thought you were going to get away without, out there he said, I'm not going to talk.
No, I'm not going to say anything. I was hoping not to say anything.
Life animated. You have made millions of people cry, including me.
I hope they laughed.
And I'll never admit it. So.
I hope they laughed as well.
Absolutely laughed. And crying, not tears of sadness and not coming from a bad place, but what's a word to describe compassion, empathy, triumph. Beautiful. 3 excellent words to describe. That's what it's so uplifting. And it was. Now, when you came into this film, what were you getting yourself into? Did you know? Because again, you didn't necessarily know how the story was going to unfold.
Well, there was a book. So Owen's father, Ron Suskind, is a very well-known Pulitzer Prize-winning author, and he had written a book, but he writes big political books about, terrorism and the financial crisis, and this was his first personal, really personal. So I had that, but I'm not gonna rehash a book. So it was really about following Owen in his life as he becomes independent. But for me, it was really about giving him a voice. Owen and so many people like him don't have a voice in this world and in America, especially now in this political climate, and it was really about giving him a voice and really telling the story from his point of view.
I was surprised at how comfortable he seemed with you, a stranger, presumably an audio person, a camera operator, a crew coming in and becoming a part of his life the way you did.
Yeah. There was a crew of 3 of us. Owen lives in the land of the lost sidekicks. He lives in his head. So he was a perfect documentary subject because he never looked at the camera. And it was great. And he also, the other problem is that Owen also, he can't tell a lie. He can't do, so he has this real honesty about himself. So if I would say, Owen, I didn't get the shot, you have to walk through the door again, he'd be like, I already walked through the door. Why would I walk through the door again? So that was a problem. But the good thing about it is that he just was so natural. He just never, once we became part of his life, we were part of his world, and he just ignored us, and we were able to get really intimate moments with him.
Well, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. Congratulations.
Thank you.
There were some sequences in the film. There were quite a few scenes from Walt Disney cartoons because that's how he's communicating and living his life. But there are also there's some original animation.
Yes.
What prompted that concept and who did it? And it's also very beautiful.
So the last chapter in Ron's book is written by Owen. It's The Land of the Lost Sidekicks. It's really Owen's autobiography about a little boy who at 3 years old, Owen got struck with autism when he was 3 years old. He was aggressively autistic, so he was a neurotypical child until around 3, and then autism hit him, and he creates a story, a little boy who gets struck by autism at 3 and gets sort of swept into the land of the lost sidekicks, where the sidekicks, it's all the Disney sidekicks because the heroes have fulfilled their destiny, and they're sort of on their own to sort of battle these monsters and demons, which correspond to the monsters that Owen was battling, like being bullied in school. So he created that story. So it was natural to bring that to life. And so I went to an amazing group company called McGuff in Paris, and they hand drew. Owen connects with the Disney classic films, so hand-drawn animation, and they hand drew the animation for a year, creating, turning that, bringing that to life. And actually, I think they're here. Philippe and Matthew and Olivier from Paris
over there
are here.
I see some hands up right there.
Where are they? There they are. They're hands up, guys. They're getting an Annie Award tomorrow from the in animation, a special award for their
beautifully
animation,
done.
So.
Really beautifully done. It's nice. It's good to, animation is one of the options available to us as documentary filmmakers to try to help tell a story when there aren't elements necessarily to do that, like stock footage. And Ezra, why didn't you interview OJ? I'm just kidding. Okay. Oh, do you see that look?
I think I'm one of those serious documentarians. Yeah.
No, but I think that stock footage is something obviously that was very important in your film, and the work that you had to do in research and putting together the storytelling. How long did it take?
The whole film took about 2 years, all in all. And but yeah, the archival research was a fundamental part. And I mean, we had incredible Caroline Waterall, our producer, who is here, is an incredible archival.
Where's Caroline?
I don't know where. There she is.
There she is, hand waving.
And she, alongside of Nina Christic, one of our other producers, they did just an incredible job. I mean, I can't speak to. It's really a Herculean task that they to track down everything they did on a macro and micro level of, you know, when you start off, you're sort of doing a deep dive of all-encompassing research that's finding every interview that OJ has ever done, looking into finding all, you know, digging into the archives of the LAPD to figure out what exists to tell that history. But then as soon as you start doing interviews and start to sort of think, there's always the specifics of these things you have to track down, not to mention the sources that you meet who have shot footage on their own. And so it's stuff that you're gathering from, you know, traditional archival houses to networks to people who haven't given or shown their footage to anybody, and it's developing a relationship with them and going through their footage and figuring out a way to have them offer it to us.
Must have been hundreds of hours together with your interviews and the archival footage.
It's about 800 hours of footage.
Why didn't you interview OJ?
So we had all that footage.
Oh, good answer. Let's take a look at a scene from OJ Made in America. And
I think this is a scene that is, I think, all archival.
Great.
From the 6th. So there you go.
Let's take a look. There's some great editing in that piece. Do you guys want to, like, anyone sort of jump in and talk about the importance of an editor in the process of documentary filmmaking?
Oh.
Just to give a little shout out to the editors who are in the audience.
Well, they don't do anything.
My editor's here, David Teague, who's a brilliant genius. And David had
Where's David?
David, take a bow.
David's high. Oh, back row.
He's way in the back.
Why would an editor sit in the back row?
Yeah, just like an editor. You know, David had a very difficult task of, you know, sort of 3 different types of animation. You know, Disney clips, the Land of the Lost Sidekicks animation. We had the simple black and white line drawing animation, verite footage, and home movies. And he had to sort of weave all these layers together seamlessly and create a story. And that's the beauty of an editor, that, you know, they're your writers, they're your co-writers, to me, they are hand in hand with you, and that's where we create these films, in the edit room. So, David, you're amazing. And all editors, sorry. I just love my editor. So.
My guy learned Kazakh. Pretty much, yeah. He got so good because it took him 9 months to edit, because again, it was my first film, so I just gave him like a dog's dinner of rushes. I did half the sound myself on one of those little zooms, and none of it was sunk.
Well, 9 months is pretty quick.
What do you think?
For what? Yeah,
I mean,
for
he
what you
didn't have
accomplished.
800 hours to go through, but he did a great job. And he's very musical as well, so he sort of picked up on the cadence of the language to the extent where he was pretty damn, because we were always waiting for translations from Kazakhstan, to the point where he would get the syntax down and he knew where to cut.
Well, editing
So
it's a musical type of
Yeah,
thing anyway, isn't it?
yeah. Certainly, yeah.
I mean, sorry, Josh. In addition, Maya Muma, who is we had 3 incredible editors. Maya Muma cut that scene, Brett Granado and Ben Szanski. And so I think, they are all individually incredible editors, but to be able to work simultaneously on 3 different parts of the film, and to maintain a coherence, alongside the idea that you did have that much footage, was an amazing feat that they, managed to pull off. Yes, this film could not have been done without the most incredibly talented editors that we had.
Yeah, I'll just I'll add to the praises. Our editor Eli Dupre is just a total genius, and it was an unbelievable pleasure working with him on this. We had about 400 hours of footage, and he actually was here in LA, and Elyse and I are in New York, so we did the whole edit remotely through Skype and other things. So that was an interesting challenge. But what Eli brought, he brought a lot. So many things to the project, but the one thing that we really knew right away he was the right editor to work with was really a sense of tone and pacing and humor.
Yeah, the timing in it is fantastic.
Yeah, and it's so much credit to him for figuring out that tone, which at the time, we really wanted to figure out how to include the humor of it all. It's gotten a lot less funny in recent months, but it definitely is a big part of the film.
How long did it take? You said you had about 400 hours of footage. What was the post-production?
So with Eli, we were editing for about 9 months.
Okay. That seems pretty quick to me as well, considering all the footage you had to work with. Exactly, right?
Like over a year.
Yeah, well, we didn't have as much money.
So Josh, you work with a co-director.
Yes.
How does that work?
So Elyse Steinberg, my brilliant co-director, who was planning to be here and is really sorry that she couldn't actually end up making it, but she and I were creatively and we co-directed and co-produced shoulder to shoulder the whole way through. So I ended up doing almost all of the shooting just because there really wasn't room for more than one person in that context, in that environment. But she and I were talking constantly and strategizing about what we were getting and how to put it all together. Arguing all the time. Yeah, that's part of it.
Leads to creative results. It's good.
Yeah, well, we like to say that we fight well, which is part of why we enjoy working together.
Good. Well, let's take a look at a scene from It Needs No Setup. Let's just jump in and take a look at a scene from Weiner. Josh Otto was saying earlier, he said your film has just perfect pacing in the editing for the humor, and he's right. It's an absolute pleasure to watch. It's funny and also heartbreaking, and it's an interesting commentary on society, and it's everything I'm sure you hoped it would be, and maybe even more.
Thank you.
So congratulations. When you go into a film like that with somebody like Anthony Weiner, does he have any approval over what? Oh, you're smiling. There's a story there.
Well, the answer is no. He agreed, to obviously be in the film, and as I mentioned before, one of the ground rules was that if ever he wanted me to turn off the camera or leave the room or not be in the room, we would respect those boundaries. But otherwise, he and everyone understood that they were in the movie.
He was doing things where I thought, why is he doing this in front of a camera? Does he know? Does he remember Josh is in the room with the camera? So, he must have. Did you give him an opportunity to watch the film first and give any comments about cutting things out? Or?
Well, we actually did offer to show him the film before we finished it. It was towards the end of the editing process, and we offered to screen it for him before we premiered at Sundance, and he refused to see it. He actually didn't want to see it.
Really?
And so, he actually said no a couple of times, and we were a little bit surprised, but we, respected that choice.
What about Huma Abedin, his wife?
Same.
She didn't want to see it either.
No, it was. He sort of chose to keep his distance from the film as it was released for whatever reasons.
Have you spoken to him since he's seen it?
No, he has said. I don't know if he's seen it. He actually has claimed recently to still not have seen it, which I don't know if that's exactly true. But we haven't been in touch much since he decided to sort of distance himself from the film.
You think he's
Yeah,
preoccupied?
he's had some other things to worry about.
Yeah, I'm curious. It's always interesting when the subject of the film sits down with you and watches the movie. I mean, Roger, for you, when you showed Owen and his father and his family the film, what kind of feedback did you get?
So Ron and Owen watched the film in our office together, and they were alone in the room. I was not in the room. I was peeking through the keyhole, but I wasn't actually in the room.
You were peeking through the keyhole.
Yeah, I was. Yeah, of course.
Very cinematic explanation.
They may even be here. It was. I was a wreck, because if Owen didn't like the film, we were gonna have a problem. But Owen came running out of the room and he hugged me, uncharacteristic, and it was so beautiful. And he said, "I love it." And I was in tears, and it was a very emotional moment. Cornelia and Walt did not see the film till in an audience at the premiere at Sundance. And that was their choice to see it with an audience. Imagine how emotional they were, and they had to go up and do a Q&A.
That's Owen's mother
and his brother. Yeah.
And Otto, if I could pronounce the young girl's name.
Ashelpan.
Thank you. What kind of response did you get when you showed her the film?
They'd seen parts of it. I'd shown them little clips when I would go back and forth on my iPad. But they hadn't seen the finished article. They saw it at Sundance in the theater. And it was very nerve-wracking, because they're the most important audience, really, in a lot of ways. And they loved it, which was great. Thank goodness. And there were a lot of tears, and I was very happy. But it's funny, months went past. We went lucky enough to go lots of different festivals, and then we went to a festival in Dubai, and she got such a standing ovation afterwards. And everybody turned to her. We were lucky enough to get a lot of standing ovation, but this one, I don't know what happened, but she cried. I've never seen her cry ever, and she cried. And then I dedicated the film to her grandfather. He passed away between Sundance and Telluride, and we showed the film. The first time they kind of loved it, and it was all exciting. And then the second time we played it outside at Telluride, and it was the first time that I guess her father had seen his father, all big, and his voice really loud, and his mannerisms. And then at the end, he gave me, he's a strong bloke. He's really tough. And he gave me this massive bear hug. Nearly broke my spine. But he just said, he doesn't speak much English, he doesn't speak English. But, he said, thank you in my ear. I knew exactly what he was saying thank you for. And it was, that was really good. It's nice to meet audiences who like it, but when your subjects really like it, it's great.
And I read that, I hope this is true, but that the distributor is actually contributing.
I am.
Oh, you are?
Yeah. Well, it's
for her education?
Yeah, that's right. We after we took off at Sundance, and Sony Pictures Classics came in with a good wedge of money, it just seemed right to make them profit participants. So we set up a fund for her education. She wants to be a doctor. She wants to be a surgeon. So now she can,
great.
Now she can
That's
study
fantastic.
wherever she wants in the world. She can go to college. Yeah. Which is nice.
Ezra, I won't ask you what OJ thought of the movie.
You can ask.
No, right? Okay.
I have no idea.
But we were talking about, well, you know what? One thing I want to come back to with you, because speaking of things I've read, that you were talking about doing a 7.5-hour movie and the process of doing it. And I'm asking this because of someone who's in the audience today who is a first-time feature filmmaker who's made a lot of short films, and who I'm supporting the feature documentary that he wants to make. And everyone's saying, that is such a great concept. You've got to do it as a series. That's got to be 6 hours. It's got to be 8 hours. You said in one of your interviews, you went to a really dark place in trying to get, is that true? Is that what you said, Ezra?
Talking to Josh?
You.
Me?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know that I went to any darker place than anyone on the stage in trying to make a film. I mean, it was a lot of hard work, and certainly from a subject matter standpoint, there are a lot of dark themes.
Yeah.
And so spending a couple years, you know, on the one hand, it's a story that, you know, culminates in a brutal murder when we're talking about the protagonist, and in the twin narrative, you're talking about this awful history of people who have been brutalized by the police department in this city. You're talking about the trauma that black people as a whole have suffered in this country. I mean, it's not a comedy. And so in that way, spending that much time with this material, it does weigh on you. And then, sure, just the arduous task of trying to figure out a way to maintain the narrative thrust over the course of almost 8 hours and trying to make a movie like that. Yeah, it was just hard. That's it. I don't know about dark, hard.
It was your quote. but
what was the quote?
I don't know.
It just,
no, it's on Wikipedia, so it was probably wrong. Josh didn't go to a dark place. Josh had a good time the whole time. It was...
Oh, yeah. Pure joy.
Do you guys know Raoul
Yeah.
Peck? I'm sure you've met him.
lovely man.
Well, what a talented filmmaker. Raoul Peck is the director who wasn't able to be here tonight. He made a film called I Am Not Your Negro. And I'm sure I speak for everyone on the stage when I say I highly recommend the film. It's brilliant. It's created from some of the basic tools we use in documentary filmmaking, archival footage, scripted narration, although in this case it's excerpts from a manuscript by James Baldwin. It shows that you can artfully arrange music, images, and words to create something truly powerful and enlightening. And I wish he had been able to be here tonight, because I think he would have really been able to add a lot to the discussion. But we don't have him, but we do have a clip from his film. So let's take a look at a clip from I Am Not Your Negro. It's powerful, very powerful film. Also, just such a good use of archival footage, and the way the editors, the director, everybody put it together is tremendous. Made me think, Ezra. Boy, it's getting to be. I don't want to bring it down, but I'm very curious about your decision to use some of the graphic images in the OJ documentary, particularly the murder scene photographs of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. Was that a difficult decision for you?
Yes and no. I mean, yes, in terms of the sense of took it very seriously in terms of how, what those photos show, and that essentially that no one had ever seen them. And I understood the impact it would have, certainly on certain people who knew the victims most prominently. But no, in the sense that, I think when I was telling this story, when you look back and what we were trying to do in the film and show what the trial became, and it became about all these things, and everything but the victims, and everything about those brutal murders. And so when I saw those crime scene photos, I was given a presentation by Bill Hodgman, who is the deputy DA who's in the film. And it was maybe over a year into the process of me working on the film, at which point I had become relatively desensitized to a lot of the story. And when I saw those photos, I was shocked into a place, and what went through me emotionally made me realize immediately how impactful and how necessary they were for an audience to understand what we weren't focusing on during that 9-month trial. And that was imperative for me to show them. That was why.
And I want to say, I think it had exactly the impact that you wanted it to. It worked exactly that way for me, and it's horrifying, but yet it communicates something so essential to the story. So congratulations to you for doing that and for the way you put the whole film together.
Thank you.
Okay, something funny. Anyone have a good joke?
Yeah, you really brought them.
You do?
I do not have a good joke, but
Well, let's talk a little bit more about Life Animated then, Roger, since you didn't want to speak very much and since you haven't had...
say that?
What about you, decisions about using things in the film, footage of Owen, that you think, speaking about the decision whether or not to use certain photographs and how the family might feel about it, are there times when you're in editing where you're thinking, maybe it's interesting, but it's not something Owen would want to see or the family would want to see? I mean, there's got to be a fine line about deciding, you're making a movie after all, not an expose. So was that ever difficult for you?
Yeah, there were many times. We had finished, we had sort of was at rough cut stage when Owen had a devastating breakup with his girlfriend, and sorry, spoiler alert. And I didn't know whether to continue filming that because Owen was in such incredible pain, and he expresses it, and the whole family was in incredible pain. But Ron said to me, "This is we wanted to do this because we had to tell the truth of what we went through and are going through as a family, and that's why he wrote the book, and that's why they agreed to be in the documentary." And he was like, "Keep filming." So there were many. It was a tough time to sort of be a sort of fly on the wall in the room when Owen is struggling.
Did you have the emotion that we feel when we watch the film while you were filming? Did you cry?
I cried with Owen because, during that breakup was one of the few times that Owen sort of stopped, sort of pacing around and sat down and said, "Why is the world so cruel? Why can't people love each other? Why does this have to happen to me?" He expresses, he doesn't have the filter that we all have. That's a wonderful thing about Owen. We all have this filter that we protect ourselves from each other. We don't express what we're really thinking or feeling because we're being protective of ourselves. But Owen is just out there emotionally, and that's the beauty of it. And he was just so raw, and he's like, "Am I going to be alone forever? Is anyone ever going to love me again?" And it was so painful to sit there and have that conversation with him, just kind of in just the two of us in the room. And at that point, yeah, I did cry.
All 5 of these films are extraordinary, and I highly, highly, highly recommend them to everyone in this room. If there are any of these that you haven't seen yet, to seek them out, and they will literally change your life. So thank you to you guys for making these films. Congratulations to you for your nomination for the DGA Documentary Award. We'll see you next year. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Congrats, guys.
Thanks.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this exclusive discussion. You can watch the full video of the documentary Symposium and of our Meet the Nominees feature film Symposium on our website at dga.org/events. Check out past episodes of The Director's Cut by subscribing on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, SoundCloud, or wherever you listen to podcasts. Also, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, share, and leave us a review. We'd love to hear your feedback. Thanks for listening, and have a great week. This podcast is produced by the Directors Guild of America. Music is by Dan Wally.